How do fractional CMOs hit the ground running? Hi, I'm Dean Way. Welcome to Fractional CMOs and the 90-Day Win. There's a lot of variety in how they kick off a new client engagement. In fact, there's so much variety, it's valuable to just listen to what opportunities they look for, what they tackle first, what they like to tackle first, and what they wish wasn't true when they start a new project. So let's find out. Dennis, let's start with you. Hypothetical. You just started a 1-year new engagement. Okay. So you just started a 1-year engagement. You're the fractional CMO. We'll talk about early wins in a moment. But first, what problems do you typically see? Like, what's the main problem or main two problems you will typically see, or what problems do you go look for on day one? And tell the audience a little bit about yourself, please.
Sure. Thanks, Dean. Most of my work has been in business to business, and some of the problems I see is just a general lack of understanding of what marketing is and what it can or cannot do for the company. So part of it is really helping the team, the leadership team, understand the role, the engagement. And so typically we'll go over very carefully engagement objectives, we'll go over the timeline, we'll go over their role in helping to assure success. And what I look for in general is leadership team buy-in. Are they engaged? Are they accepting the engagement? Are they accepting the role? And then ultimately from my engagement sponsor, who's typically the chief executive officer of the company, the founder of the company, or the PE firm, which brings up a whole other set of issues. I'll look for them to really help set the stage properly and to understand the role that I can play for them. And accept me as part of the leadership team. My name is Dennis Bailen. I'm currently a CMO and partner with a firm called Chief Outsiders, a national consulting firm working with mid-cap companies, typically B2B and B2C. There's about 100 of us in the company now across the country. I'm a 40-year marketing veteran. I have been head of marketing for a number of different companies, Pep Boys, Automotive Aftermarket Chain, Kobecker Corp, Melville Corp divisions. I've also been an agency guy. I was head of client services for Arnold, now Arnold Worldwide. I taught marketing at Emerson College in Boston, University of North Florida in Jacksonville, a couple of other places. I've been a single shingle consultant and a CMO with Chief Outsiders now for 9 years, probably in that capacity between those two areas. I've dealt with probably or worked with 50 different companies and clients. So I've seen marketing from a lot of different points of view.
I don't think I've ever heard the phrase single shingle consultant before. It's also not easy to say fast a bunch of times. Kitty, hi. So, like, what sort of one or two things do you normally uncover or look for starting day one on a new engagement? And tell folks who you are. I know who you are.
Thank you. So I'm Katie Walter. I'm a fractional CMO operating out of St. Paul, Minnesota. I've been doing this for almost 5 years, and single shingle fractional CMO. So I'm not connected to an agency or a consulting firm like Dennis, but yeah, B2B is also my sweet spot. I was with Thomson Reuters for 16 years in the legal division mostly. So I've got the professional services and tech world are very comfortable places for me after that experience. And when I start a fractional CMO engagement, my spidey sense is looking for what's the company's vision and aspiration? Like, what do they actually want to do from a growth perspective? How do their customers like to buy? And do they have the marketing systems that support those two legs of the stool? And those, the problems that I'll often encounter tend to be in either there's not clarity around what the growth targets are and where the leadership team sees that growth coming from, getting translated to the marketing team, or there's not a lineup between how customers want to buy and where the current marketing resources are pointed. A quick example of that, I worked with a company that the leadership team knew that the most profitable, highest dollar sales were going to come from big enterprise deals that they sold through a channel partner.
Right.
And yet their marketing team was staffed for an inbound sales model, fully kind of focused on an SEO motion, and it just doesn't line up, right? Because what we realigned around was how do we make the most out of the opportunity that these channel partners give us, rather than trying to draw people to us from the internet, because the people that bought that way were the small deals that were totally online.
Well, Katie, let's stick with that for a second and go in the other direction. What are some of the early wins or low-hanging fruit that you like to do, if you can, in the first 90 days?
So those always start, my first 90 days are always heavily focused on customer interviews and voice of the customer. And so that tends to drive a lot of the early wins,
Right.
because just having the insight from the customer interviews is a gift to the leadership team. And they don't, their salespeople, their customer team, their product team, they're always talking to customers all the time, but they're not always talking to the customers about the things that I want to go talk to them about, which was, how do you do your job? What's important to you in your job? Where do we fit into that big picture? But really, like, what are the jobs you're trying to do in your job, in your responsibility? And then how does that, and then I do the analysis that connects it to the brand and to figure out where the gaps are. And the early wins are always driving out of that customer insight. There's also always, of course, early wins of like, yes, I can get your homepage lined up with what you actually do in the first 90 days. That's something that Dean came on for one of my clients recently to do. And like, that was an amazing early win, because there was a huge opportunity to do that in the first 90 days. But I would say customer insight drives it usually.
Thank you. So Dennis, how about you? What sort of like early win or low-hanging fruit do you like to look for in the first 90 days?
Well, I'll piggyback on what Katie said. One-on-ones are very critical, both internally and externally with customers. And I think one of the benefits that a fractional outsider, be it Katie's company, our company, or others, is customers will often say things to us they won't say to the company itself. And so it's always nice to have a third party positioned as a, if you will, a research arm looking at possible strategies. And I think that we offer a benefit to clients just by being an outside resource that customers may be more open to. One of the things I really try and do early on, almost all of our assignments are really to help formulate growth strategies. And most of our clients, they have a macro growth goal. Maybe it bucks the trend, or maybe it's along with the trend. But they'll say something like, "We want to grow 30% over the next 5 years." And what I'll help them do is granularize that goal, if you will. Where is that growth going to come from? And most companies haven't really thought that through very well. So, how much of it is going to come from new products? Well,
Right.
we think a certain percent will come from new products. So we look at the whole new product development strategy within the company. Is it really robust enough to support the kind of growth goal? Is it new customers are going to contribute to growth? Well, what's their customer acquisition strategy? How are they going about it? What's their history been? Are they going to sell more of what they already got to customers they already have? Well, are they thinking of cross-selling, or are there incentives? So each of those different growth goals, if you will beget different marketing and sales strategies to support them. And once we help the company understand where the growth will actually come from and which segment will contribute what to that overall growth goal, then the strategies can follow suit. And I think the early win is just helping guide the leadership team of many of these companies through that thought process,
Right.
and then matching that up to relative strengths or weaknesses to see
Well,
if
let's just roll into another question then, because I think you've touched on it, and I'd like to explore it a little bit. So, what do clients normally not know about or even see until you start working with them? They've got plans or they've got a goal. They don't have a plan even. They've got a goal. They got a wish. What do they normally like have not seen so far that that's maybe right in front of them, or what did they not know?
A lot of what I see, if that's directed to me, is what they don't know is kind of that last mile. I see a lot of digital strategies. I see a lot of traditional, and maybe it's the last foot, not the last mile. But how do all of these strategies actually connect to making a cash register ring somewhere,
Yeah.
and really kind of tying that together? So and making it accountable, not just for clicks or likes or things like that, but really ultimately leading to a transaction. So I see that. I also see a lot of clients to some degree kind of drink their own Kool-Aid, if you will, in the
Mm-hmm.
sense that they think they are unique. And in my experience, most companies are not truly unique, and we have to build on their strengths. Just because they're not unique doesn't mean they can't position themselves strongly in their competitive framework. I'm working on a branding exercise with a client right now where there's nothing unique about them, but there are still opportunities to to position themselves in ways that will reflect what customers want that they can deliver.
Yeah, I don't believe in uniqueness, but I'm a big fan of positioning and differentiation. Uniqueness, anybody can achieve uniqueness. It doesn't mean a prospect or a customer is ever going to care why you're unique. How about you, Katie? What kind of what do clients normally not see or know about or understand
Well,
before
I
they
think
do it?
I've had CEOs tell me they hate marketing because they like it's a black box and I don't understand it, and there's sort of a feeling or a perception that it's not measurable, it's not clear to them how you get from A to Z, and so there's sort of a like we're gonna put all of our thoughts about marketing on a shelf over there, and then someday we'll bring someone in to figure it out. Like it's a very uncomfortable position, I think, for leaders to be in, to say, well, we got to do something about marketing, but we don't know what that is or what that means. And so, I think I've been fortunate to work with companies that do have some granularity around where their growth is going to come from, or the product market kind of fit around their product, and size of organization and who they're going to sell to. But how they take that from a business plan to marketing output feels like a black box to them. And so part of what I try to do is like, well, we've got all the pieces here. Let's just put them together in a
Right.
way that a marketing team can act on. And it's simply and I also will say, if at the end of this discovery and planning process, you should recognize your company when I talk to you about how we're going to sell it. Like, this should not sound like a stroke of genius or coming out of the blue to you, the plan I'm going to put in front of you, because all of these things. They're just not in a way that a marketing team can act on them. So that's what I try to do in that first 90 days is understand the company enough that when I put a plan in front of them, they say, oh, this feels right.
Yeah, absolutely. We all have like our own little process, I guess, and a little workshop or, and a discovery process. And that's exactly what ends up happening usually with mine, is that we get to the end and I'll say, so it's this. And they say, yeah, that is us, actually. That's what we've been trying to say. I don't, Dennis, I don't do like the branding type stuff. I'm the last 2 yards to the goal line. I'm the very, very, very end of a branding or rebranding exercise. I don't do that strategic level stuff. I just get the last bit where it says, okay, we understand our colors and our mission and our ICP and everything else. So like, what 5 words are going to be in the headline of the homepage? Like, that's what, and they're like, I know a guy. And then that's where I end up. So I'm at the very tail end, not at the high level strategic stuff like you guys do. Okay, then Katie, given like what they see, what they don't see, what they understand and don't understand, and so on, what should a CEO understand about fractional CMOs if they want to extract like the last penny of value out of one for however long the engagement's going to be?
Yeah, I think that, and I think
Definitely going to answer
understanding
Dennis.
what.
I said I'm definitely going to ask this of Dennis as well.
Yeah. Well, I think that the fact that it is a wide, to me, marketing is a much wider remit than sometimes people,
Right.
executives and small businesses think that it is. Like, I can do more than name the packages that you're wanting to sell. Like, I can help you think through whether those packages are lined up in a way that customers, the distinct packaging people you're targeting them at, will buy them, and how we price it, and what message your pricing sends to the market, and how we design sort of the sales motion that goes with it. And it's one thing to say that in my sales process. It's another thing then to embody it once I'm in the door with a client, that they'll say, yes, of course, we want you to help us grow this business. And then there's sort of an effort, and especially happens in that first 90 days, to say, okay, wait, you need to, that's a meeting I should be in. That's something I can help with. Let's talk about those things too, versus waiting for it to come to me. Just because I sold them my availability across a wide remit or a wide swath of the business doesn't mean they're going to remember to bring me in for it. And unless I say I should be there, I should be at that table.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Dennis, let me ask you the question, but I'll give you the option of actually inverting it. So how should a CEO, do you think, like, get maximum value out of a fractional CMO? Or how do you see CEOs wasting the money after they've hired a fractional CMO?
Right, and it's actually, the answer is the same, the same for both. What I tell actually prospects before they will sign the engagement is, the way to get the most value out of me is to treat me as a member of your leadership team, and to treat me as a peer. Now, I understand I have to earn that, but one of the values the biggest value I think that we bring as outsiders is authenticity. I did actually a video for my colleagues at Chief Outsiders with a very strange title, I think you'll say, which is "Your Client is Not Your Boss." And the reason I did that was because so many of our, to be a chief outsider, you have to have been a chief marketing officer for at least two companies. So we've all been kind of corporate people. We've all worked in that regard. And most of us have left for similar reasons. The corporate environment cannot always be nurturing, cannot always be healthy. And what we can deliver, and what I believe we owe our clients, is authenticity. We should be empathetic. We should be polite. We should be respectful. They are our clients. But if you think of your client as your boss, you're less likely to be as authentic as the situation may call for. And you may pull your punches a little bit in terms of what you see and what you advise. And I think then you're selling the client short in terms of what you can deliver. And conversely, the other side of that is, if a client doesn't want that authenticity, then they're probably not going to get that kind of value that they could from a fractional CMO.
I was a project manager for a long time for a software company that was, I think today they're probably the biggest in the human capital management, payroll, HR kind of like software field. And they used to commission all these studies, and every year the studies said the same thing. 8 times out of 10, people don't leave companies, they leave managers.
Right.
Yeah. And clients, kind of the same thing, right? Okay, Dennis, then what are some signs that like that client should not have hired a fractional CMO, or wasn't ready, maybe culturally even, for a fractional CMO?
Yeah, I think what I've seen in a number of instances is that they have not worked with outside resources very successfully to this point. A number of clients can be very skeptical. They've had bad experiences with consultants, with marketing agencies, and so forth. And so they bring you in with a negative mindset, kind of prove me wrong kind of thing. And it can be very difficult to be successful if that's the going in mentality. And very often those engagements do not extend to their conclusion and are not often successful.
How about you, Katie? What are some of the red flags?
Yeah, a couple would be that if there's not consensus on the leadership team about what the company is trying to do and a sense of what the path is to get there, things can, it might be too soon to bring in a fractional CMO. That might be the step before that would be some sort of business system coach, like an EOS implementer or other kind of guide to help get the leadership team aligned around what we're trying to do and
Get
what's
things
sort of
framed
the
up.
most,
Yeah.
sorry?
Get things framed up.
Get things framed up, right? Not just from a, hey, we need more leads in the sales pipeline, let's go hire a fractional CMO. But truly of like, what are we trying to be in the world and what are the most important things that help us get there? And then I guess related to that, I think there's a size question, a sort of size question or age of maturity. When I've worked, I think I've struggled in things that feel sort of like a fractional CMO engagement, but they're for a solopreneur or a 2 or 3 person shop. And I think at that point, they're not looking for maybe as a strategic a resource as I want to be. They're looking for someone to do their social media, and then there's someone
looking
else
for a marketing director.
Yeah. Yep. Or if they come to me and say, I just need someone to keep me on task with my marketing calendar, that's probably not me. As much as I want to be helpful to people who ask me for help, that's not me.
Okay, Katie, I have a hypothetical for you.
Okay.
I don't know if it's ever happened, but just in case it ever will, we're going to plan ahead for a future that may or may not happen. So it's a 1-year engagement. You're 6 months in. CEO comes to you and says, Katie, between the two of us, we're going to pick the next VP of sales. We don't have a VP of sales right now. We're going to hire the next one. From a marketing point of view or not, what are the red flags, green flags for a new VP of sales coming in?
Well, I would want to have someone who wants to work with marketing as part of a system, an overall system. Like the strategy for this company might be a targeted account strategy or account-based marketing. And so we need to be able to be very fluid about how we work together and how we define leads or qualified leads or all of that. So some sort of mental flexibility and nimbleness around how our two functions work together in one really good system. But someone who's also kind of dedicated to systems thinking and scalability as well as a human and strategic view of how their team is connecting with customers.
Dennis, what do you think? What are some of the red flags or green flags for hiring the new head of sales? Could be a fractional head of sales if it makes a difference.
Well, first of all, I've lived through a lot of those scenarios. And the good news in the hypothetical you set up is if the CEO already has reached out to Katie or me or our ilk and said, we're going to do this and we want you involved, hooray. I mean, that's a win right there. That's a win right there because then you've obviously earned that CEO's trust and you're part of that process, which is awesome. And you have a much higher assurance that there will be some sales and marketing alliance, if you will, or alignment, I guess is the better word. I have also been in situations where I have been surprised to meet the new VP of sales when I've been in the middle of an engagement. And those can be very challenging because oftentimes they'll come in and I've seen hand grenades lobbed on the table very quickly, and in order to establish some territory and prove a point and so forth. And the fact that they were brought in, in a way outside of, my particular purview or involvement or participation, it is a great sign to me that I wasn't successful in earning the trust or the relationship I had hoped for. I'm usually not caught by surprise by that because of, we all have our weekly check-ins or our periodic check-ins and, take the temperature of the relationship regularly. to make sure beyond just the deliverables and the work product, but the culture is a fit, that the work is appreciated, that it's being seen as of value, and so forth. So, just the process to bring that person on, be they fractional or full time,
Right.
can be either a red or a green flag, depending.
Fair enough. Well, we're running out of time, so Dennis, you've got your link on screen, but tell people how to get in touch with you, or and also who should get in touch with you.
Well, first of all, the website is there with my name, chiefoutsiders.com. You can find my profile there. I'm also on LinkedIn, Dennis Bailen. And you'll also find 100 of my colleagues on the Chief
firm.
Outsider profile. So feel free to shop if you need. We work with all industries, from tech to industrial to professional services. And so if you feel a fractional CMO or CSO might be of service, we're happy to explore it with you.
Great. And Katie, what's your preferred way for people to get in touch with you, and who should get in touch with you? Or who should not?
Or who should not. I'm on LinkedIn as well, Katie Walter, and my email is katie.walter@trellis.live. I did not get the .com for my my company name back in the day. So LinkedIn and email are fine. I like to work with companies that are around $5 to $10 million in revenue in the B2B SaaS and professional services space. And I also love to talk about things that are challenging people in business and life. And so if someone just thought I was cool and wants to chat, I'm fine with that too.
All right. Thank you both today. It's been great to see you. See you again, Dennis. See you again, Katie. And I think, Katie, I'm going to see you again tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Yeah.
And thanks everyone for watching, and watch us next time.